Before we start this episode, I do want to put a disclaimer out there. If you're listening today with kiddos in the car or around, there is some content and some language that may not be appropriate. That's it. Carry on. All day long at work, I couldn't get the notion out of my head. If I was serious about this thing, I had to get over myself and I had to get some moxie. I had to be willing to be uncomfortable. I stood in the kitchen later making dinner, and I felt the nudge again. Today is the day. But I'm making dinner. I haven't prepared what to say. What if she thinks I'm a creepo and she doesn't want to share her stories with me? Before I could list any more excuses, I dropped the dishcloth on the counter and marched outside. She's just one door down, so I took 2 steps and stood there, frozen, for probably a solid minute, running through my list of excuses again. I really didn't want to do this part. Just when I decided to turn back around and do this some other time, I felt my arm reach forward as if drawn in by the force and knock on the door. I freaked out, but I couldn't do anything now but stand there, frantically thinking of words to say and waiting for her to come to the door. There's no turning back now. I'm not sure what I said when she peeped out of her door, but the conversation ended with her saying, "Sure." I didn't even get her number before I ran back home and shut the door, and I felt so on top of the world. About a week later, it was her turn to knock on my door. I offered her some freshly brewed coffee with cream, and I'll be honest, and this part is embarrassing, I've never had a stranger in my house before. I felt backward and awkward and skeptical. She wanted to see my wedding photos and chit-chat and get comfortable before we started, and when we finally sat down to talk, she told me something that I never knew before. She told me she's in stage 4 kidney failure. Now, there's only 5 stages, and the doctor recently told her that she has 2 months before it's dialysis or a quick death. This is my next-door neighbor, dying, sitting at home all day, kind as can possibly be, with stories that would never get told. I've lived next to her for a year, and not only is this the first time I've offered her a cup of coffee in my home, but I had no idea of her condition because I never gave her that much of a second thought. Telling people's stories isn't a hobby or more content to put out in the world. We have to be willing to listen and be right there, and I want to tell their stories like they want them told. So listen in to part of my conversation with Kelly Ketler. I know you mentioned that you wanted to be a cop.
I did. But I was going to join the military police and do all that. And I had it all worked out in my mind. I didn't plan on having children right away, and then, oops.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It wasn't really an oops. It was just
and then that changes everything.
It changed everything.
In an instant.
Yeah. But I felt like I wanted to be like maybe a parole officer or a probation officer. I could do something like that. But, it just didn't.
Man, I just feel like it takes a special person to want to do that kind of stuff.
Job, yeah.
Yeah, because it's unsafe.
It's unsafe. But
is that kind of what drew you to it?
I think just so. The excitement, yeah. And an explorer. Explorers are Boy Scouts, but they're old enough. They're like 17, 18. They accept girls into this program, this explorer program. So yeah, but we learned how to go into a room, how to sweep a room with their guns out, and it was exciting. You know, we didn't have real guns, but you know, it was exciting. Yeah. And that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I couldn't stay home with my kids. I loved them.
Yes.
But I had to work. I mean, I had to work because I was a single mom anyway, but I couldn't have been like a stay-at-home mom. I just couldn't.
Just would have driven you crazy.
Yeah, like now I can't even explain to you how awful it is sometimes.
It would drive me
so
bonkers.
Lonely and so boring.
Yeah.
It's like my day consists of waking up with Terry and having coffee, and then I go back to sleep, and then it's just slow. So when you asked me to come over, I'm so excited.
I'm so glad you did. Are you able to do much where you're able to get out on your own, or is it...
I take the bus and I go to the doctors and I do my own doctor visits and stuff like that.
Were you pretty active before?
I feel like I was always running. You know what I mean? Just busy and busy. And try to, make myself busy. And sometime in my early 40s, I'm 50 now, so it happened in my early 40s, I decided that crack cocaine was the thing to do. So I met someone at my work, and that person was into that, and I let myself get into that. So for a year, I was completely useless, and I lost everything. I lost Cole. That's my son. I lost him. I didn't lose him, but I had to sign him over to family. Otherwise, he was going to go to foster care. And he was 14 years old. He still needed me. Yeah. And I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. I just went off script. But it was a time when he and I weren't together. We were split, and it was awful. And so then we moved to Texas to get away from that little small town in Illinois that we were in. And it helped because I went to rehab there. Okay. And got clean. And I've been clean 7 years. I mean, I still smoke pot, but I don't do the other. And I think there's a big difference between the two. But, people would look at you, and they'll look at me, and they'll be like, you?
I know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed.
No, it's a weird, I don't know what happened. I don't know why in my 40s would I ever do something like that. I think it was a culmination, and I was miserable in my life. Yeah. I was just at a miserable place, without him. And it was a tough time. And then it was just, by that time, Sierra spent most of her high school years in hospital, inpatient. Most of it was inpatient. So when she was out, she was doing school. When she was in, she had school too, but it wasn't the same. Yeah. She graduated. I don't know how she did it, but she did. She kept up with her studies in the hospital. Amazing. I couldn't work. During that time, I had to be with her, so I was on FMLA. So that's what I did. I was able to do that, and but I didn't get paid. Right. So it was like,
how did you make it?
Terry worked. He stayed home. He didn't come.
Okay, so you knew Terry at the time. I wasn't sure when that was in the timeline.
Yeah. And she hated Terry from the moment I brought him home. She hated him. Except for the fact that he could do piercings and tattoos.
She thought that was cool.
That was cool because all her friends wanted piercings, and so I'm like,
I didn't know he did that.
Yeah. You've got to have permission slips because you could get sued. Yeah. Especially if one of these little girls come over and say, my mom said it was okay. Kidding. And then he pierced them. No. I was like, no.
Kidding.
No. And no tattoos. And I remember one of Sierra's little friends, Levi Spray was his name. He wanted a tattoo so bad. And he called Terry's nickname was Tattoo Terry.
That's great.
And so he wanted Terry to do this tattoo on him. And so he had some lady call and pretend to be his mom. Well, I knew his mom. And this was not his mom on the phone. And I knew it. And I knew where his mom worked. So I went up to his mom's work.
And you weren't having it.
I wasn't having it. Because I didn't want to get sued.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we would have been in so much trouble. Or Terry would have been, in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And, through him.
No kidding.
Me too. Yeah. So, but the crack thing was a horrible journey. It was a horrible journey. It was awful. I was very fortunate that, for one thing, I never had to, please excuse how I'm going to word this, but I never had to suck to get crack. Yeah. Thank God. Because I met and lived with a dealer. So I skirted that whole lifestyle part. Okay. So
you were safer.
I was safer, but at the same time, I was still smoking this stuff. Right. And I think that caused my first heart attack.
Exposed. Oh, wow.
And I think it caused me to lose my foot. So, Terry took care of a lot of, I lost all my toes, and I had many surgeries before I lost my legs. Texas sucked.
No kidding.
But I think,
how did you get away from it? I mean,
I had to go to rehab. That was the only way.
And was that your choice?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Terry came and he gave me the option. He's like, let me take you. And I was like, and at the time we weren't together, and I was like,
Okay.
we'd already, our second divorce had happened, and he said, let me take you. And I was like, okay. So that's what we did. And it was hard. It was withdrawals and I didn't know that happened with that drug, but it does.
Yeah.
Like heroin, that happened. I mean, it's not nearly as bad, I guess, but it still happened. And, I had to live through all that. And it was a horrible journey. I would not recommend it for anyone.
Man.
And it's not fun. And it's as deep and a dark place as you can be. I think about that a lot now that I have so much time to think.
Yeah.
Is, how different my life would have been had I been on that path of being a policeman and, not having kids maybe until I was a little older.
How do you adjust to that drastic of a new normal and just everything that you do has to change?
Everything that you do has to change. You are at a different level because you're in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So you're, and I get frustrated because people get that, or they don't understand why I don't use my prosthetics more. Mm-hmm. But it's just my choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just,
absolutely.
I don't want to fall. I just don't use them. Yeah. I should probably, but I just don't. I get around. I get to the bathroom. I do what I need to do in my chair, The first leg, my sister, I lost my leg, and then my sister had given me some clothes to try on when I got out of the hospital. I was so excited to have new clothes. I'm putting on my pants, and I go to stand up and walk to the mirror, and I fell on my staples, my new staples. Yeah, it was awful. I was rolling around on the floor holding my leg. I'm so sorry. I was apologizing to my leg because it was bad. The staples bent and it was terrible. But I was so excited about those clothes, And
you're not used to it.
You totally forget. And that has happened more than once. I haven't fallen, but it's happened more than once. Yes, like I was going to put my shoes on to come over here. The last thing I was going to do was put my shoes on. I don't have to do that anymore. So.
And it's been, how long has it been?
5 years. Yeah. I think, I know they say that God doesn't work that way, but I think I was running a course that was not okay. And I think he had to do something. I don't know. I don't know why else I would have lost them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I did have diabetes for about 20 years. So I was really young when I got it. And I ignored it. I was invincible. I ate what I wanted. Yeah. I did what I wanted. Yeah. I didn't care.
Yeah.
I didn't take medicine. I didn't diet. I didn't exercise. And this is what happens. And I would love to be able to speak to new diabetics because the new ones especially, you do feel invincible. You feel like this is not going to happen to me. That is not going to ever happen to me. It can happen to you. It can happen to you easily if you're a diabetic and you don't take care of yourself. It can happen. I think when I lost them, my mentality changed. It was like, okay, I can go one of two ways. I can go really dark, or I can accept this and just, and that's what I've done. I mean, not every day is a good day for me, but most days, I try to be up and pleasant and, joking around with people and stuff like that. I feel like it makes me feel better, about my situation. There are times like when people they don't acknowledge, they won't make eye contact, or
I wondered if people treat you differently.
They do. Friends are not your friends anymore because they don't know how
what to say or what to do.
Yeah. So it just.
How do you deal with that? People looking at you differently. I
kind of have to laugh because it's like...
Because what else do you do?
Yeah, I know when I saw a man for the first time without his leg, he had the exact same amputation as this one. And I saw him as a little old man in his wheelchair in Walmart. And that was here. It happened here. And I saw it and I froze. And I'm like, I'll just go up and say hi. And I couldn't. I froze. I didn't know what to say to him.
And this was after you had already lost your legs?
Yes. And so I was like, okay, I get it. I get it now.
Wow.
And that has helped, okay, that's why people do it. Because they
really just don't know what to say.
It's shocking. It is a shocking thing when you see somebody without a leg. It's like, you're supposed to have a leg. Kids are the funniest, though. Do they use scissors? They're wonderful about it. And then usually their parents will join in and be like,
it kind of breaks the ice.
It does. And then they're cool.
Do you wish would you wish that people would just ask rather than, if you're gonna freeze, or like, what would you say to the person that just doesn't know what to say? What should they ask? Or
I don't know.
Is it weird or uncomfortable for people to just come right out and ask you, how did you lose your legs?
For me, it's not. But I have read articles. I get this little magazine for amputees that says that sometimes people have lost their legs due to tragic circumstances.
Yes.
Like car accidents.
Yes.
They don't like to be reminded.
Sure.
So that's why people don't ask.
Sure. You don't want to trigger something.
Right. And that's why people will be like, But for me, because I lost them to my own devices, it doesn't bother me for anybody to ask me. And I would rather
that than for them
I'd love to have a conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm going to church, though, because I feel like I need it. Especially, stage 4 kidney failure makes your own mortality is right there. It's like, wow. He said if you don't do dialysis, you will die very quickly. It's not very painful, but it's quick. And I was like, okay, so do I want to do that, or do I want to do dialysis, And people don't understand when I say that. They're like, why wouldn't you want to, I live in a wheelchair. I don't have any legs. I don't have a quality of life. You know what I mean? And I'm not feeling sorry for myself. It's just my reality. It's just my reality. And I will do it because I have a grandbaby, and she is probably and of course Terry, I feel bad because it was so sad. He had me in tears. He was in tears. He was like, you're not alone. I love you. And he's not that kind of man. He is. I know you know that. He's not that kind of man. So that brought definite tears to my eyes, but he thought I was dying. He's shit scared, and it's like, sorry. So I can't forget to include, that Terry doesn't want me to go either. He doesn't. So he's been very, very sweet lately. So I'm enjoying it. It's just, it's hard.
It's just plain hard.
There's been a lot of hard, but I have a lot of fun now.
Yeah.
I really do.
Thanks for listening to Kelly's episode. I hope you fell in love with her like I did. If you want to hear the full uncut conversation, you can sign up to receive those at our Patreon community, which I'll link in the show notes. You can also find a link to Amplitude magazine, which she mentioned in the conversation. You can always find bonus content at our website, youneverasked.org. Music for this show was created by Nathan Hall and artwork by Ashley Crutcher and Jenny Brewster. You've been listening to You Never Asked.